So let's take a look at this half head model. And again, remember, this is cut in mid-sagittal section. So we're looking at a slice through the brain when you cut it exactly down the middle. So here's our cerebrum and here's our cerebellum. So remember, the cerebellum is always towards the posterior side of the brain. And this would be the frontal bone and the frontal lobe here, the anterior side of the brain. So here's the cerebrum. Here's the cerebellum. And remember, inside the cerebellum, you can see this branched area that's got all these myelinated axons and white matter, and it looks like a tree. So anatomists called it the tree of life, the arbor vitae. So you can see the arbor vitae inside the cerebellum. Then we also said that the ventricles are spaces inside the brain for CSF to circulate. So here's your lateral ventricle. Here's your third ventricle. Here's the cerebral aqueduct, which connects the third ventricle down to the fourth ventricle, which is down here between the cerebellum and the pons. So that's your fourth ventricle right there. So those ventricles are spaces that contain cerebrospinal fluid. Now you can also see this white thing right here. This is the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is the connection between the left and right sides of the brain. So it's a very important structure inside the brain. Now we said that the area in here was called the diencephalon. The diencephalon is made up of the epithalamus, the thalamus, and the hypothalamus. So here you can see the epithalamus. The epithalamus is made up of the choroid plexus and the pineal gland. So here's your choroid plexus, and this little number 10 dipping down here, that's your pineal gland. So those make up the epithalamus. Then here's your thalamus, and remember, when you cut mid-sagittally, all you can see is a tiny little dot where the left side connects to the right side. I showed you in an earlier video that the thalamus is quite huge. It's all of this stuff right here. But when you cut exactly down the middle, all you can see is the intermediate mass, the connection between the left side and the right side. So there it is, the intermediate mass of the thalamus. And then down here, number 18, this is the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus connects to the pituitary gland, which is labeled number 11 here. So we got epithalamus, thalamus, hypothalamus, and pituitary gland. And right above the hypothalamus, right next to the hypothalamus, here's your optic nerve with the data coming in from the eye right there. Now, as you move lower down, you're getting into the brain stem. So remember, the brain stem has three parts: midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. So here they are. Here's the midbrain, here's the pons, and here's the medulla oblongata. And remember, the medulla oblongata turns into the spinal cord as you move down. So here's the medulla and here's the spinal cord. You can see it in between the vertebrae as I move the model up there. So those are the structures of the brain stem. Now also here you can see the superior sagittal sinus, this large vein at the top of the head right here. And this sinus collects the cerebrospinal fluid after it has been circulated around the brain. So you can see this blue on here, it's the superior sagittal sinus, which is also on our list of structures that we need to know. Another thing you can see here are the four bumps at the back of the brain. They're called the corpora quadrigemina. And remember, there's two upper bumps, which are the superior colliculi, and there's two lower bumps, which are the inferior colliculi. So you can see them here labeled 6 and 13 on this model as well. So I think we've hit on most of the structures that we need to know on the brain that we can see in this half head model. So remember, on your exam, there's going to be many different types of models. So when you're in class, make sure you look at every model that's in the room. Don't just look at the one that's on the desk in front of you.